This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast and are not intended to malign any religion, group, club, organization, business, individual, anyone, or anything.
I'm Sarah Edmondson.
And I'm Anthony Nippy Ames, and this is A Little Bit Culty.
We woke up from a cult, and that journey was captured in The Vow on HBO and in my memoir, Scarred.
Now, in this podcast, we break down the shame and secrets that make these experiences so destructive with honest conversations on how seemingly benign groups can cross into the cultiverse and how to spot and recover from trouble if it happens to you.
Each week, we bring in experts, survivors, and whistleblowers to explore red flags, resilience, and even share a few laughs because sometimes you gotta laugh.
Subscribe to our Patreon for early and ad-free listening, some live Q&A, and exclusive content at patreon.com/alittleBitCulty.
Welcome to Season 8 of A Little Bit Culty.
Welcome back to A Little Bit Culty, everybody. Today is one of our funner episodes, or would it be more fun?
Definitely more fun.
Definitely more fun.
Well, much anticipated, a guest that we've been talking about doing a podcast.
I'd say.
Yeah, since years. It's been years, actually, that we've been wanting to have Marc Headley, ex-Scientologist, been involved since the age of 6, who actually began working for church management at age 16. So he's got a lot of stories to share.
He does. Marc's journey spanned 15 years inside Scientology's secretive Scientology International Base, aka INT, where he endured and witnessed daily abuses before making a dramatic escape in 2005 with help from local police, which is a whole nother story.
Marc has devoted himself to exposing the organization's, I say that in air quotes, tactics, and supporting other survivors through the Michael J. Rinder Aftermath Foundation. Rest in peace, dear Mike.
We had the pleasure of meeting Marc in Vancouver when he came out with Mike Rinder for the cruise, and then at Mike Rinder's memorial last April, I believe it was. Great guy, funny guy, and can tell a story. So join us as he shares firsthand accounts of indoctrination, life under authoritarian control, the effects of disconnection, and what freedom truly means after a lifetime in a cult.
As you can imagine, this is going to be a two-parter. We talk about flaps. We talk about David Miscavige almost getting skewered. We talk about some great details and stories you probably won't have heard anywhere else.
And we probably could have done 2 more episodes.
It could have been a 4-parter.
Could have kept going. Tons to ask him. We barely got through our list, and he's agreed to come back on Patreon for a live Zoom Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, our list of questions was so long, and his stories were more important than anything that we could have asked him, but we'll go for part 5 over on Patreon after this episode's drop. So until then,
it's a love story too.
This truly is a love story, and not with Tom Cruise.
Okay, all right, keep it PG. Here's part 1 with Marc Headley.
It was so good to see you in person.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I wish I had been under better circumstances, obviously.
Yeah, but we met in Vancouver, too.
Vancouver. Yeah. Well, I was actually saying to Nippy, now that we've read your book, like, I'm kind of bummed I hadn't read your book before that because, I mean, I knew you were an ex-Scientologist, but I didn't know how involved you were or like how crazy your story was.
He hit some bombs.
Yeah, you hit some bombs. So it was just, maybe it's better this way. So I just know you as a person and I wasn't all like, oh my God. We have so many questions and our audience is well-versed on what Scientology is, but they also seem to be pretty obsessed as, you know, the world is, you know, and they want to know the ins and outs. And to be honest, after, 2.5 years of doing this, I'm like, I got a good grasp of what goes on there. But your book was like definitely way more insight. Like I just got so much more of the nitty-gritty behind the scenes of like what happens.
Yeah, no, when I was writing the book, I was always worried I'm getting too into the nitty gritty, but I didn't know a good way to tell the same story without sort of letting you know, like, this is what I was up to every day. Like, this is what I was doing. This was my world. And the Scientology part of it was just hanging over it. And, you know, it was sort of like, there's nothing I can do to get away from this. No matter what I try, I cannot make it not go this way. And people, when they tell me, oh, when I read the book or when I listened to it or whatever, they're like, oh, no, you were at like a crossroads. And they're like, no, don't go that way.
Yes. You have a way out.
Yeah,
Leave
no, don't
now.
do that. That's definitely not the right thing to do.
Well, it was good, though, because you explained why. You know, in the moments where you're like, well, I could keep taking these courses and what's the worst that can happen? Or I could go back and be like living on the streets. I don't really have any other options. Like your options in the outside world were pretty limited.
Yeah, they would push that all the time. You know, they'd be like, there once was a story of this young Indian, and when he left the tribe, that's really when he succumbed. You know, like just you don't want to leave the tribe. You got to stay. You got to stay with us. And if you leave, that's the worst possible thing. And if they have your family, that's the other thing. Is
that was the big
my
one.
entire family was in it besides my dad, and my dad lived out of state, and I didn't see him that much. So if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my family. And ironically, I lost my family when I did it, and they used the family as like a lever to pull the whole time. And then finally, after 15 years, I was like, I don't even see my family. I don't know my family. They don't know me. I literally haven't seen them, you know, besides like a few hours here and there, maybe once or twice a year in 15 years. So I'd be like, I'm here so that I don't lose them, but because I'm here, I haven't had them. So it's ridiculous if you think about it. And that's the way it is for most of the people that worked at the international headquarters where I worked. They were, the INT base or gold or anyway, it literally has, I added up one time, it has like 12 different names. That one property has 12 different names within Scientology.
Is it accurate to call it like the Sea Org compound, or like what's the most accurate thing to call it?
It is the Scientology International Base. That is what it is. It's a 450-acre facility in the middle of the California desert. The nearest cities are Hemet and San Jacinto. It's 19625 Highway 79. Gilman Hot Springs, California. It's its own city.
That's
Gilman
crazy.
Hot Springs, because it used to be a resort. It used to be a hot springs. It was Gilman Hot Springs. And there was an old man Gilman, and he lived on the property, and he sort of built these shacks over the hot springs and turned them into like baths, so like tile baths that you just go sit in, and it's just like steam rooms and tubs and all this kind of stuff. And those buildings from the hot springs were actually what the base is located in. Like the place where we study was the main spa that had all the tubs under it. And if you were studying in Scientology, the place where they kept all the course materials and the books and everything that the dictionaries, was inside of these giant tubs and pools.
So they kept the structure.
They kept all the stuff. And over the years, over the 15 years that I was there, we pretty much renovated most, if not all, of the old structures into all these new buildings. But I have to say this because it's kind of a crazy story. The government built a giant facility in the mountain on the other side of the property. The base backs up against a mountain, and inside that mountain, there's a secret government facility. And they have roads that lead to it from the other side of the mountain, just roads. If you go on like Google Earth, you can see it all. It's kind of wild. These roads just dead end into the mountain. And that's where they have these giant doors and you can drive in there. But when they were building that facility, they hit the underground spring that fed the hot springs. They hit the water line.
Right.
They dried up the springs. And the Indians, there's some Native Americans that have reservations that are right near there. And they were in a giant legal battle with the government because they basically dried up all the springs. All the rivers and all the water supplies were interrupted when the government were building this facility.
What year was that?
I want to say this was in the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
It'll make sense at the end when I'm done, how it's kind of weird that it just Scientology has a property there. But old man Gilman just put boilers in all the spas. And he never told anybody the springs had dried up. And he ran it for years and years after that with just these
Oh.
boilers because there was no hot springs anymore.
Oh man.
And so he was
Gilman.
basically
man.
just a scammer for like the last 10, 15 years of the resort being there, how many ever years it was. And then eventually people found out, and then it fell out of repair. And that's when Scientology bought it. And when they bought the property, they called themselves the Scottish Quietude Society. And they bought it under a false pretense, just like all the properties that they originally bought in Clearwater, Florida. They bought it under the Unified Church Organization or some weird United Churches of America or some weird thing. But they did the same thing in Gilman Hot Springs. They also thought they'd get a better deal if it wasn't some big group buying it, if they just bought it, through lawyers and whatever. But then Hubbard had them shoot a film there on the golf course. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, has all these internal training films in Scientology. And so they shot this movie. It's called Training Routines, this TRs in Scientology. It's like called Professional TRs or TR 1 through 4 or something like that. And there's a large portion of the film that takes place on the golf course that is at that property, which they now make. It's sort of a semi-public golf course. But I think when they were there, that's when they saw the property. He was like, oh, we should just buy this place.
Smart. And that film sounds scintillating, by the way.
Is there a sequel?
There's 17 sequels.
Oh.
In Scientology, they have training films and then they have public films. And between, I think there's like, let's say 20 training films. And then I think it was 26 public films. They just have endless amounts of internal training films that L. Ron Hubbard made. And they are so hokey. They're kind of like, gosh, I don't even know if there's anything like it. When you see a really bad, like B space movie from the 50s or the 60s.
Yeah.
That was his jam.
Right.
So
I get it.
Really, really dated, corny. Just they have these, you walk into the drugstore and there'd just be a big sign above the door that said drugstore. And that's how everything was.
LRH kind of had a personality like that, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a 50s TV caricature.
He really did.
You know what, Mark? The thing that really struck me the most from your book was like, I don't know how to say this without sounding whatever. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but it's like, it feels like he was this little kid who was like, we're going to start a club and you are going to be in charge of that. And you're going to be in charge of that. I'm going to be in charge of this and you go do this. And then it like got out of control. And then all of a sudden there's these adults cosplaying being in the military and it's like legit somehow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I really think he got so wrapped up he was in the military, in the Navy.
Yeah.
So he kind of lived that life of, I'm this worker guy and God, look at the captain, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And the stories and the escapades and all the adventure. And I think when he was being chased by all these different governments, that's really how the Sea Organization was formed, is he was being kind of kicked out of every country he went to. He got booted from like kind of state to state and bounced around the United States for a bit. And then finally, when the feds caught onto him, he was like, oh, now I'm burned in the whole country. And so then he goes to England and the same thing happens there. And then he's in South Africa and the same thing happens there. And then finally he's like, I'm running out of countries and international waters, back to the Navy life. And I think you're exactly right. He was like, I could have that. These people all love me. They'll do whatever I tell them. Maybe they're like sign up for life kind of thing. And boom, they do. That's
join my club.
Yeah.
And then they kept doing it. So he's sort of like, well, I'm going to make this a thing.
Definition of, you miss 100% of the shots you take. You just took a bunch of shots. A couple of them hit.
And he's recorded just thousands and thousands of lectures. And he's just a storytelling kind of dude. He gets up in front of people and he'll give a 2-3 hour lecture. And somehow in there's a little bit of Scientology it's just like the concepts are really what he's explaining. So then you have the person and this is how their reactive mind works. And it's this, and he's sort of telling a story about how that could have happened based on all these concepts. And there's just thousands and thousands of them. And he's basically just kind of like an old bullshitty fuddy-duddy, just like telling stories, fucking around, And these people are just like eating it up. And you're just like, what is going on? So because I worked in Golden Era Productions at the headquarters, I was part of the audiovisual for all of Scientology internationally, all the training films that we shot there or the cassettes. So we'd take those lectures and we'd reproduce them onto cassettes. I mean, I was making 50,000 cassettes a week, 15 years after CDs came out at this place. They were sort of like 20 years behind the technology.
Why are all cults so technologically behind? Like, what, do you think they're just stuck in, like, Keith was like that too?
More technology, more information, I would imagine too.
Yeah, that's true.
But because Hubbard wrote that I'm the source, all Scientology technology comes from me. And you can't change any of it. And you can't modify it. You can't update it. It's that forever. And if anybody changes anything, you're declared a suppressive person and an enemy of Scientology. Mm-hmm. So if he wrote that you got to wash windows with ammonia and newspapers, then that's the only way you can wash windows. You can't, it literally would be something like if somebody came up to you and you had Windex in your hand, it would be like, what are you doing? You know, like, that's not ammonia and water and newspaper. And it's like that level of craziness. So he was big into reel-to-reel. That's what he recorded almost all of his lectures on. He recorded it on reel-to-reel. And then for years, they would copy them on reel-to-reels, just the organizations. He'd come there, they'd record it, he'd record it, and then they'd copy their copy and he'd copy his copy. And then that's how it worked. And then only, I want to think, probably 10 years in, he's like, oh, I can monetize this. I need to be selling these things to these guys. It's like Amway with the cassettes.
I was about to say the tools. We just covered this in our last episode, Amway and the fucking tools.
Let's take a break from the Cultiverse. Here's a word from our sponsors. Ever feel like health is just one big guessing game? What supplements do I need? Am I getting enough sleep? Should my diet be keto, Mediterranean, or something else entirely? Superpower finally replaces the guesswork with real, personalized answers. They send a licensed professional right to your home, or you can pop into a nearby lab for one simple blood draw that analyzes over 100 biomarkers. That's way more than a basic annual checkup, and it unlocks incredible amount of info on your body. Their app breaks down heart, liver, hormones, metabolism, vitamins, minerals, even environmental toxins. Whether you want to prevent disease, beat brain fog, or just optimize your gym results, Superpower delivers the most advanced and comprehensive health insights out there. Get a custom action plan based on your actual results, including supplement suggestions, nutrition guidance, and lifestyle tweaks. You'll even see your true biological age and can track your progress with every new test. Superpower system builds year after year, giving you a complete picture of your health journey. And now, the price is just $199, compared to other testing services that charge $500 or even $1,000 for less. It's a total game changer. Know your numbers, understand your health, and start proactively improving with Superpower. Someday, we'll laugh about how reactive our healthcare used to be. Proactive healthcare is finally here and accessible for everyone. Head to superpower.com to learn more and lock in the special $199 price while it lasts. After you sign up, they'll ask you how you heard about them. Please make sure your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower.
Guess what happened this week? I saw a little brown leaf fall from the tree in my backyard, and I said to myself, yes, Sarah, fall is here. You know what that means? I can start updating my wardrobe with some Quince essentials. Yes, Quince makes it ridiculously easy to stay polished, cozy, and save money without ever skimping on quality. I'm obsessed with their fall essentials. Think 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters starting at just $50, perfectly tailored denim, and washable silk tops and skirts that make getting dressed effortless. My personal favorite this season? It's kind of hard to choose. I'm loving all the leather jackets and the denim. So many things are in my cart right now. Don't get me started on their wool coats, specifically designer level style, but at a fraction of the price. And honestly, the craftsmanship rivals pricier brands that I've tried. Quince partners directly with ethical, high-end factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you get these luxury wardrobe updates for way less. If you want to upgrade your fall look in a way that's smart, stylish, and easy, Quince is definitely your move. Treat yourself. You deserve it. Keep it classic and cozy this fall with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/culty for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/culty to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/culty.
Some days your brain just needs a vacation your wallet can actually handle. That's why I love IndaCloud. Whether it's answering endless emails or juggling daily chaos with the kids, you deserve a better way to unwind. IndaCloud serves up federally legal THC products that are all Farm Bill compliant and third-party tested, so you get smooth relief without driving across town to a dispensary. So, if you're 21 or older, head to indacloud.co and use code CULTY to get 25% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co, code CULTY, 25% off, free shipping. I take it sometimes just when I want to chill. Sometimes I take it before I go to the gym. Gets me deeper in my lifts, blocks those cannabinoid receptors. Know what I'm saying? No sketchy loopholes, just easy, legit chill for grown-ups. Over 50,000 people already trust IndaCloud to upgrade their downtime because feeling good should also be hassle-free. Take a break that feels as relaxing as it is legal. Whether you're chasing deeper sleep, better focus, or just some peace between your streaming marathons, this is how adults get elevated now. If you're 21 or older, now's your chance to float above the stress because IndaCloud is giving all new customers 25% off their first order plus free shipping. Just use code CULTY or click the link in the show notes to claim your discount. That's indacloud.co, INDACLOUD.co. Use code CULTY for free shipping plus 25% off your first order. Fill out their quick survey when you order to support this show and make your week way more enjoyable. All thanks to IndaCloud. Thanks for listening, everyone. Now let's dive back into the cultiverse.
Before we get into this, because we jumped a key thing. I loved your book, and I know our audience will too.
Okay.
Give us the cliff notes of how you got in.
there.
And I know you didn't jump in 2 feet, but you were kind of tricked in a little bit of a way to getting involved, as most people are. What was your journey into it?
In 1979, I was 6 years old. We moved to California. My dad was going to make it big in a band. So the whole family moved out from Kansas City right to Hollywood, California. And one of my dad's band members was a friend of his from high school that went to Atchison, Kansas, this prep school up in the middle of nowhere. And so that guy was a Scientologist. My dad's friend from high school was now in Hollywood, and he was a Scientologist. So when we get there, my mom's like, oh yeah, totally, I'm doing it. This is what I've been looking for my entire life. And my dad's like, I'm out. No way I'm doing this. And they basically split up because of that, because he didn't want to do Scientology.
And what was your mom like? What did she like about it? What was it providing that she was looking for?
I'm not sure. I think she grew up on a farm near Atchison, Kansas, Rushville, Missouri. And I think she had a rough go of it. I'm guessing there would have been a little bit of violence and a little bit of the parents might have roughed them up because that's how she raised us. She beat the crap out of me, if any, I'm like cold cocks from very little.
No way.
Yeah, from very little. I was used to getting at least a weekly beating. And I just always attributed, that's how they did it back on the farm. That's just all I could think of. But I've met all of her family. They seem like terribly nice people that would never do that. So maybe I just got the bad end of that one. Anyway, I don't know if that might have been one of the reasons why she wanted to get in Scientology, so she could figure out that. She was very violent. And she also, once her and my dad split up, she would have a new boyfriend every 6 months, pretty much for my entire life. And she would move in with them when she would get together with them. So I think I made a list one time. By the time I was 16 years old, I had moved 16 times. Between 6 and 16, we moved 16 times.
What?
Jesus.
Sometimes we'd live in a house for a month.
Just a little bit of instability. Just a little bit of...
But to be fair, I think she got a house that was in escrow. She knew somebody that sold their house and then they moved somewhere. And then their house wasn't going to be out of escrow in a month and a half or something like that. And she was like, can I stay at your house while it's in escrow? And we lived in this house for 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. And I just had a sleeping bag and I had a room and I just slept on a wood floor in this really nice room with just no furniture, just bone dry house. Anyway, so it got to the point, I think by the time I was 14, all of my stuff that I owned, everything in my life fit in one 50-gallon Glad trash bag because it was just such a pain in the ass moving. It was just when you're always on the move, you learn very quickly to not accumulate things that you will then have to move. So my dad moved. They never made it big.
Surprise.
Spoiler alert, the band didn't make it big. They did come out with some singles and they had a cassette and they were playing. I think they opened for Red Hot Chili Peppers one time.
Wow.
But like at the Whiskey or, something like that. It's a club on Sunset in LA. Shout out to all you LA people that know that. And so they never made it. My dad ended up moving back to Nebraska. And throughout the entire time we lived there, it was when it would get so bad that my dad thought my mom was going to kill me, then I would go live with him for a while. He was always working. And when he wasn't working, he had a roofing company. When he wasn't roofing, he was doing gigs or in rehearsal or doing this or doing a show or whatever in the band. So basically, if I was with him, I would never have any parental anything because I was at school by the time he was long gone for work when I got up for school. And when I would come home from school, I would just make some ramen and just hang out till midnight playing around Hollywood. And then when I'd come home at midnight, he wouldn't even be home. He would get home from rehearsal or practice like maybe 2 a.m. So if I lived with him, I was just, what do you call it, latchkey kid. I was just out doing my thing and with no adult supervision.
At a very young age.
Yeah, starting probably around 7 or 8 kind of thing.
Wow.
And this is in Hollywood. We're like a few blocks from Hollywood Boulevard. And we lived in an apartment right across the street from the Scientology Celebrity Center. So even though my dad wasn't in Scientology, he still kind of played along and got along with everybody. He just never did anything in Scientology. He was just like the ex-husband of this lady who's totally into it. And Juliette Lewis lived in the same apartment building that I did. And her mom lived there. Her mom and her stepdad lived there and with her sister Brandy and Bree. And her dad, Jeffrey Lewis, was this big actor guy. And he'd come over there sometimes, just hang out. He'd be at this apartment building, this total shithole of an apartment building right in Hollywood. There's another big actor guy. His name is Michael D. Roberts. And he was in Ice Pirates and he was in Rain Man. He plays the orderly in Rain Man. Big, tall, black dude. And his mom lived there, wasn't a Scientologist. And so he was a big movie star and he'd come there. So I was always, they got some celebs over there.
Yeah.
And John Travolta would be across the street sometimes. And my dad, the band that he was in, the drummer was Thad Corea. Was Chick Corea, very, very famous jazz musician. And his son was in the same band with my dad. So I met Chick Corea and, all these people around that thing. And then Thad was in another band with a guy named Danny Keough, and his girlfriend was Lisa Marie Presley. So I was always kind of at gigs or doing stuff, and Lisa was there. And I always just remember having a massive crush on her. Like, that's like Elvis. That's like Elvis's daughter. And she's like right there. So it was always, to me, that was the kind of the cool thing about it.
Yeah, it has a robustness to it. Yeah, you have a robust childhood. It's pretty cool.
But then if I'm at my mom's house, not only do I get a beating here and there, but also you have to do Scientology. You have to live the Scientology way when you're with her. So if you get into trouble, you have to look at L. Ron Hubbard's policies and see what the condition formulas are. What condition are you in? Are you a liability? Are you in treason? Are you in doubt? Are you in confusion? As a child, you have to do all these things. And also, if you are a hardcore Scientologist, you have to go on course and do their training every night, 5 nights a week, 2.5 hours. Scientology is a fanatical group. So there's no, this is the milky kind of white version of it. And this is the like really black version of it. No, it's 100% or nothing. That's how it is. So if you're really a dedicated Scientologist and you're going to do your 2.5 hours every night, well, what about your kids? Don't you want them to be Scientologists? So my sister and I, we were on course as children. We would go to school 8 to 5 and then do Scientology from 7 to 9:30 every night. Like, we were having dinner the other night at our table, our whole family, 3 boys, my wife, even one of the boys' girlfriends was over. And I was thinking, we didn't ever do this when I was a kid. We never sat down at a table and ate a meal because we were getting off at school at 5:30. We have to drive from like La Cañada to Los Angeles. That's an hour. We're going to be on course at 7:30. So we're going through a Kentucky Fried Chicken drive-through, and I'm getting dumped off with these people that I don't know any of these people. This is a whole nother group of people. And the place where we would do the courses is a Sea Org organization. So the people that are there, they're working from 8 a.m. to midnight. So you're like phoning it in with your like, oh, you got to be here from 7 to 9:30. Like,
Yeah.
no,
He was.
no sympathy, sympathy. They don't give a toot that you're there for 2.5 hours. Like, and also if you don't get there, if you're supposed to be there at 7, you get there at 7:01, you're mopping the floors. Like, you were late. You got to mop the floors tonight. And these are people that are paying to be there. These people they're paying for this.
So you were how old when you did your first course? 7?
Oh no. Oof. Maybe 8 or 9.
Damn.
And I actually worked for them for a summer when I was 11. I was a staff member. I got paid. I got a check. I got not a check, but like a payment slip with like $180 worth of cash stapled to it for working there during the summer. I just worked there every day as a part-time staff member when I was 11.
What were you doing?
I did 2 different things. I was the deputy executive director for productions communicator, which basically is just like an assistant. I went and got her dry cleaning and got her coffee and vitamins and bagels with cream cheese, and which is basically run errands for her. And if she was in long meetings or if she had to go do something else, then I would go down to the promotion department where they sent out all the mailers and letters, and they have a very heavy focus on sending out thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail every single week to reach as many people as possible. That's a big thing that L. Ron Hubbard dictated is promote, promote, promote. If you sent out 50,000 bulk mail last week, you got to send out 51,000 this week, and so on and so forth. So I would stuff those into envelopes, letters into envelopes, or stick labels onto postcards or anything like that. And I vividly remember this was in 1984. Tina Turner's "What's Love Got to Do with It" was playing, and it was just like that was the soundtrack of.
It really was
funny. I have that song in my memories of that age too, and also
totally.
being like, "What does love have to do with it? Like, what is it?"
I'm just here stuffing letters. What's love got? And I'm hearing all these stories. I was 11 years old, and I was probably working, I don't know, 9 to 5 for the summer. I was 11, and I was running around, and because I was this, she was an executive. She was in Division 7. Division 7 or Department 21 is sort of like the highest you can get within any Scientology organization. They're all kind of patterned almost identically. So because I was working for this executive, and I was sort of like a senior person that nobody could really ask things to because I was in Division 7. So when somebody would say, "What are you doing?" I'd be like, "I'm running some stuff for the DED." Like, who are you? Like, why are you asking me anything? Like, I don't answer to you.
Is this the Celebrity Center?
No. This was at a place, it was called Los Angeles Day Organization. So they have Los Angeles Day, which operates from 9 to 5, pretty much. And then they have what's called the Foundation Organization. And that it's a totally separate organization that uses the exact same building and all the same offices, but they run at a different time slot. And they run from the evening hours when people are getting off work and that sort of thing. And really, at the end of the day, it's just one big organization. And some people work less and some people work more, but it's pretty much the same place. It's just a weird way that Hubbard, it counts as, even though it's the same building, it counts as 2 Scientology organizations. So when you're saying I have 150 organizations, oh, well, you really have 75. There's just 2 things at each place, and you're calling it double what it is. I think that's really at the end of the day, that's how it works out for them. But regardless, I did have a pretty good setup as an 11-year because the guys in the basement, if I wasn't there, I was probably working for her. And if she couldn't find me, it was because I was probably in the basement doing the promotion. So I was basically just phoning it in on both ends and nobody knew any better.
And there was no formal way to abuse you.
Yeah, I was basically just an 11-year-old kid running around doing whatever I want, listening to Tina Turner all summer. But they paid me. And that was kind of amazing. And as an 11-year-old, I mean, I was amazing. Sometimes I'd make $200 a week. Sometimes I make $300, or sometimes I make $50. They have like a sliding pay scale. So if the organization doesn't make any money, the staff don't make money. And if the organization does make money, sometimes the staff make some okay money. Nothing to write home about, but they do okay. But the more money they get in, the more money they get in their pocket.
Right, of course.
So it's very money driven. Everything. You can send out as many letters as you want, but if we don't make $300,000 this week, the staff are going to make $100 each at the end of a week, a full work week.
Even cult podcasts need sponsors. Check out these must-haves.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
Thank you, sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. Now let's get back to the show. And the money comes from donations. It comes from people paying for courses and anything else.
Yeah, they have what's called the training side of the Bridge to Total Freedom that goes from just a nobody off the street all the way to operating Thetan level 15, which OT level 15 is operating Thetan. An operating Thetan is cause over matter, energy, space, and time.
Who wouldn't want that?
That sounds like Tom Cruise sometimes.
100%. Tom Cruise is an OT7. Okay, he's way
Absolutely.
up there. It only goes up to 8. It only goes up to 8. Hubbard only wrote up to 8. That's it. And then the last few years of his life, he could have written 9 through 15, but he wrote 10 volumes of space porn instead. There is a book series called Mission Earth. It is 10 volumes, big fat books, science fiction books.
He could crank.
And they are space porn. Like
Wow.
the most like
Like pornographic porn.
Oh, like actual porn. Like actual porn.
Space porn, babe.
Space porn. Porn in space.
You buried the lead, Mark.
Yeah. We were literally doing a video and I was like, yeah, why didn't he write the OT levels? And I was like, didn't he write that Mission Earth series right before he died? And I'm thinking, he literally didn't have a succession plan. He didn't have the top of the operating Thetan levels. There was stuff going really crazy. And he just buckled down and got that, cranked out that space goodies.
Dare I say that's a flap? Would that be a flap?
That would definitely be considered a flap because
space. I'm still stuck at space porn. Holy shit! I can't believe that.
Yeah, it's funny that in Scientology, and this is it all is all connected. He thinks that Scientologists, when you get to these higher operating Thetan levels, when actually you find out the story of Lord Zenu on operating Thetan level 3. That's when you find
South
out.
Park.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. It's funny. That cartoon is like super accurate. Like you think it's a joke, but the part where they say this is what Scientologists actually believes, that is so 100% factual. When they go off to Stan and his adventures and he's the new leader, that's all that's storyline. Yeah. But when it says this is what Scientologists actually believe on the screen, that is what Scientologists actually believe. I couldn't even believe it. I was in the Sea Org. So I get in the Sea Org in 1989. When I left in 2005 is when that South Park episode came out. And when I watched it, I was like, are you kidding me? And I looked at Claire and I'm like, is this for real? And she's like, yeah, basically. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh, because you hadn't gotten to that level yet.
No, I never did anything in Scientology. I did a little bit of training. Like if you were going to become like a race car driver in the Scientology world. I did all of the car courses and I learned how to drive that car really fast. And then I never got in the car. So in Scientology, I trained to become an auditor. Like I did all of the fundamental steps that you would do. And then I never did it. And I never got any counseling besides from Tom Cruise. He was my main counselor in Scientology.
Wait,
That's premature. Hold
wait,
on.
hold
I want
on.
to follow the line of thinking that we're
I
just
know we're
on.
jumping around, but
No,
Pause
but
I
there.
skipped right
trust
to
me.
well, because you mentioned him. So I was like, say
I know.
something.
The first time you found out that's what they believe was in the South Park episode?
Yes.
After you escaped?
Yeah,
That's
after
amazing.
I'd
Oh my
already
God.
escaped. You know, L. Ron Hubbard, I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of these lectures. We used to make the lectures, and one of the ways we'd make sure the people that worked in the place before us that made the lectures, they got kicked out of Scientology or assigned to the Rehabilitation Project Force, which is like a reprogramming camp within the Sea organization. If you screw up, you go to this camp, and it's like a hard labor camp that you could be there for 10 years. And you can't speak unless spoken to, and you have to run everywhere, and you have to wear black jumpsuits, and it's like, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
It's like a gulag. It's like a Scientology gulag. So the people that worked in the cassette area before us, they all got assigned to the gulag, or they got kicked out of Scientology altogether, and because they made a whole bunch of bad cassettes. So when we would make cassettes, every time we'd make a cassette, we would play it from the very beginning to the end to make sure it wasn't messed up, in addition to a bunch of other checks. But because of that, I've literally listened to hundreds and hundreds of these L. Ron Hubbard lectures. And he talks about space stuff all the time. And within Scientology, it's called space opera. And so he talking about like, yeah, back on planet Venus, there's a freight train going through the universe. And, you know, he just talks about out there shit. As you would think of a science fiction writer who's trying to convey these concepts of the universe and everything.
Metaphors.
And he's telling stories about space. That's always how I thought of it. And then when you read Mission Earth, the 10-volume science fiction, that's also all that stuff. Just talking about space freighters and other planets and other species and aliens and computerized spaceships. And he's a science fiction writer that was like, oh, these people think this is real. Okay, good. Let's make it real.
So to find out about Zenu and all that, you have to earn that curriculum, correct? That's like on the bridge or whatever it was.
Yeah, on the Bridge to Total Freedom. You start off with learning how to do the counseling, but one of the reasons why you do that is because you learn how the counseling works. I ask a question, then you do this, and maybe if you have this reaction, it means this. And if you do this, it means this. And you basically get a roadmap for all the way the person you're counseling is supposed to react or not react when you ask them a question. But what happens when you learn that, now you know these are the ways you're supposed to act when you're getting counseling.
Right.
You inform your reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And L. Ron Hubbard has this amazing kind of thing where he says, you're not going to experience the full potential of the counseling unless you know how the counseling works. And so there are people that you can just pay and get the counseling and not do the training. It's not recommended, but if you've got $1 million and we want it, this is the way we're going to get it the fastest. We basically fast track you, and it could cost anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to get from the bottom all the way to the top, depending on how you do it and who you do it with, and if you do it at the best place that has the best trained counselors, or if you just do it at your local place. But it's recommended that you do both the training for that level and then the counseling, and then the training for the next level and the counseling. And you go up both sides of the Bridge to Total Freedom. One side is training, one side is the counseling and the OT levels. So I never got past the bottom of either one. I was always on the very, very bottom. I was working. I wasn't there because I had some mental crises that I was trying to resolve. I was there because I was a kid and my mom was in it. So I really had no care or desire to do anything in Scientology.
Yeah, you were looking for a place to live and a job.
This was my tribe.
Yeah.
I never I never could live outside of the tribe because just every time I tried to get out, I just was jumped right back in. There's no way I could get out. And my mother, the first time I actually felt like she was proud of me in my entire life was when I joined the Sea Organization. Because if you're a paying member, you can only give them so much money and you can only volunteer and give them so much time. But if you give them a kid, you raise up the social status within Scientology. You are now elevated. And depending on how far your child goes up in the Sea Org, that raises even more. So the fact that I was working at the international headquarters of Scientology for David Miscavige directly, and I then also got my sister to get into it. So both of my mom's children are in the Sea Organization, and we work at the headquarters of Scientology. So she's just like, there can be nothing better. I've done everything.
Right. Major gold stars for her.
Yeah, and she also got up to OT level 7, I think.
With Tom Cruise?
Wow.
No. This is my mother. My mother was just paying to do it.
No, but he got there too, right? He said that he was also
OT7.
he
is also at that level. There's probably 1,500 Scientologists that are at that level.
Oh, wow.
It's not a lot.
That's a big deal.
It's not a lot.
Speaking of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, we're jumping all over.
Oh,
well, we can take a little break there.
This is a cliffhanger. This is a cliffhanger.
Yeah, this is a cliffhanger. Yeah.
If you want to know what happens with Tom Cruise and how he canceled me and all of that, you got to come back for the next episode.
You better. Part 2,
Just knock
Marc
that out of the
Headley
park.
drops on Thursday. What happens next? See you next time.
Sinking down to the depths of the ocean, hanging on to the weight of my love. If I let go of it all, I could leave, but I know I won't.
We hope you're enjoying A Little Bit Culty. If so, please do show us some love. Drop a rating or leave a review. Hit subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/alittlebitculty.
Even better, send this episode to someone who needs it. Maybe they're in a cult. Maybe they're just a little bit susceptible. Or maybe they just love a good story. Spread the word, spread the love. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
A Little Bit Culty is a Trace 120 production.
Executive produced by Sarah Edmondson and Anthony Nippy Ames in collaboration with producer Will Rutherford at Citizens of Sound. Our co-creator is Jess Temple Tardy.
Our production coordinator is Leslie Dinsmore.
Writing by Sandra Namoto and social media marketing by Eric Swarzinski and Brooke Keene.
Our theme song, Cultivated, is by the artists John Bryant and Nigel Aslan.